Hey there, Wes Schneider here with another tailgate technology session brought to you by Frontier Precision. One question that I've ran into as I've been making my rounds with the R12 and ProPoint from our customers is how well ProPoint's repeating in the heavy canopy situations. So the purpose for today and actually for the rest of the week is we're going to be heading back into this chunk of woods back here and shooting a control point that we had set up from the past. And over the course of the week, we're going to be measuring it with topo point, resetting our RTK, and then measuring it again. At the end of the week, we're going to be displaying those values here for you and just covering what we found. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and get trudging back in the woods. Let's go. All right, this seems like a decent enough opening, so let's go ahead and head in. All right, here we're at our control point. Get all set up. We're going to be using VRS for our testing this week. All right, I'm going to be calling this 1.1. Control point will be fine. I am going to go ahead though and reset my RTK. You can set it up as one of your favorites, or I'm going to go down under Measure, RTK Initialization, Reset RTK. You can see our values up on top with the red X, letting you know you dropped out of those values. When it comes back in, we'll get the green check mark, letting us know that we're ready to proceed. There you can see we dropped in, we had the green check mark. We're at about 600ths horizontally, about 900ths vertically. You know, it's a little bit, not too bad windy. Let me, I'll look up that information and display it on the screen as far as our temperature and wind speed for today too. All right. Looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and initiate a measurement here.
More precisions.
See our green check mark. We're at about 500ths by 800ths. I'm going to go ahead and store that.
Observation stored.
All right, let's go ahead and do that again. Reset an RTK. About that same value, I'm going to go ahead and measure this one in. I'll let it crunch here for just a little bit. 50-second observation on that second one. Let's go ahead and store that. All right, just a really quick on-the-fly check I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and tap those two guys and inverse on them. Horizontally, we're about 200ths, vertically about 500ths difference between those two. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and grab you so you can see what our canopy looks like up here. And then we'll just pick it up each day moving throughout the week. I'll probably cruise through those a little bit quicker for you. And then at the end of the week, we can show that comparison model and figure out what we saw from there. All right, thanks. All right, day number 2. I'm going to go ahead and immediately go into our RTK initialization and reset the RTK. All right, let's go ahead. This is day number 2. I'm going to call that point 21. Let it crunch here for a little bit, but even after resetting, we're down around 4/7. Noticeably different wind speed today. Go ahead and store that.
Observation stored.
Let's reset it again. And start up that measurement. All right, go ahead and store that one.
Observation stored.
Excellent. All right, on to day 3. All right, back at it, day number 3. Let's do 31. All right, we're down by that 3 by 500 already, so I'm going to go ahead and initiate my first measurement. Go ahead and store that.
Observation stored.
Let's go ahead and reset. I set that up in my favorites, so I'm under F4 there. Reset the RTK. It's already down, so I'm going to go ahead and do my second measurement. All right, store that.
Observation stored.
All right, on to day number 4. All right, day number 4. Seeing some pretty tight precisions, but I'm still going to go ahead and reset the RTK on it. Point 41. And measure. I'm also going to go ahead and do 30-second observations today. Go ahead and store that. I'm going to reset the RTK again and just get my check shot in. All right, let's go ahead and store that.
Observation stored.
All set. On to day number 5. All right, we made it to day number 5. Let's do point 51. Let's go ahead and reset it right away. All right. See how it had to work on it a little bit to come down today. I'm going to go ahead and let it crunch. Probably just do that same 30-second observations I did yesterday. Go ahead and store that.
Observation stored.
Let's reset it. And again, I set that up in my favorites. And measure again. Go ahead and store that.
Observation stored.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead, head inside. We'll crunch the data for the week and see what it looks like. Let's go check it out. Let's go. Okay, let's check out this data that we collected over this past week. First, let's go ahead and give a couple shout outs for this project. We had Bob Green out of our Colorado office help with our network adjustment for the control that we used. We also have Jay Haskamp, who helped with our kind of our layout for how we were going to be doing this project and bringing our control in, kind of a game plan. And then we also had Tony Edelbrock help with our control setting that we use to do rounds on these points to bring in this particular control point that we use for all of our inverses. Okay, so checking out the screen now, you can see two of our green baselines coming in from the south. That's our triangulation from our control points that we set with a Opus solution, 4-hour observations on each of the control points. We waited 24 hours to send in and process each of those points. We then used a SX10 1 second total station to measure rounds into our point 100. We did the rounds on all three of the control points and observed those before we shot that information over to Bob, who is a registered land surveyor, and he went through and did our network adjustment and created some of our error ellipses there for our project. Okay. So you can see our grouping for the points. Again, if you recall, day 1 was points 1 and 2, day 2 was 21 and 22, and so on through our 5-day spread. You can see they're kind of grouped on the screen there, and then we also have our control point 100 towards the bottom of that grouping. You can see our scale. We use Trimble Business Center again for doing all of our network adjustments. You can see our scale down there on the bottom is at 200ths. Again, when you're setting a control point with GPS, you're going to be averaging that point out. That way you can pull in different data sets from the morning, afternoon, and later in the day to create the best possible solution. So you can see our point 100 check average now is what that is created as. Here's our breakdown of all of our days, our northing, easting, and elevations, along with our inverses per shot back to our traverse adjusted point. So you can kind of check out that our worst horizontal for the northing, it looks like that popped up on day 3, right around 900ths. Our worst easting, that actually looked really good. I think we got close to 400ths there on day 5. And then our worst elevation, I would say, was probably day 2, right around 2/10. Again, we're in a pretty heavy canopy scenario, so I would see something like that popping up at some point in time. But if you look at the others, we had some pretty tight results too. Again, creating that average GNSS shot for 100 then, you can see now our inverse back to our traverse adjusted point 100. You can see the horizontal right around 500ths. On the northing there, our easting is right around 2000ths, and our elevation is at 800ths. So based on that, if 500ths is good enough for what you're doing in that particular scenario horizontally, ProPoint is going to be definitely the tool in some of those harsh environments. Based on the time savings you'd get, I would say that's probably worth it. If you need to be tighter, especially on the vertical side, you're going to be traversing in and using your total station in that solution. All right. Well, thanks again, and I look forward to our next tailgate. We'll see you then.